We make so many decisions based on money. We forget our souls. Everybody wants to be able to take care of themselves from their own self-manifestations. And I think that a lot of us discount how powerful it is that if we change ourselves, we can affect so much more. So it's not so much about how powerful you are, right? But can you guide that power with wisdom? You can't pretend to be asleep because they'll even invade your dreams at this point because the American dream is dead. I think that ultimately it comes down to the self-confidence of knowing who you are. By changing you is how you change the world. Reading is like water. I don't want to be dehydrated.
What you do frequently becomes your frequency.
I made a decision to be a certain type of man in the world, to be what I didn't see.
The man I wanted to be is different from the man God called me to be.
There's things that God wants me to do that I don't be feeling like doing. But when you submit your will, you gonna do it anyway.
I know you're a Muslim, I'm a Christian. It's not even about that. It's not about the religion. It's about just getting to that higher consciousness, getting to understand who God is, what God is doing in your life, and the direction he's trying to take you, and just being on that path.
So it is that ability to recognize that spirit in both of those men that cleaned them up. That's the perfect religion. But gratefulness to me it's the key to life. It allows you to win the wars that secretly you battle within. Reminding yourself that things could be worse and things will be better. I don't need you to go into your past just to remember. That's good when you have good memories to reflect upon. But if you don't, go into your visions. I want you to create a whole new version of yourself. And I want you to act as if you're that person already.
Something you're still healing from.
I'm still healing from.
I'm Mr. Made Different, and this is the Words of Encouragement podcast, where we talk faith, purpose, and becoming everything God designed you to be. Let's get into it.
Welcome to another episode of the Words of Encouragement podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Made Different. And today I got a special guest, man. But before I get into that, I want to just remind y'all to like, comment, and share the video and subscribe to the channel. But today's guest doesn't just speak. He unlocks minds. He's a thought leader, an author, and a global speaker whose voice echoes across nations, calling a generation to wake up, wise up, and walk in divine power. He's known for merging spirituality with science, culture with consciousness, and purpose with profitability. You've seen him shift rooms, shake systems, and spark revolutions, not with noise, but with high-level thinking and uncompromising truth. He's a visionary, a warrior in a tailored suit, and a man who's not afraid to challenge the norm while honoring the divine. Family, help me welcome to the Words of Encouragement podcast, my brother, 19 Keys, man.
Man, thank you. I appreciate that introduction. That was very nice.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I've been following you for a while. I know a little bit about your history. But for the people who don't know, what was like growing up and where you're from and all of that?
I'm from Oakland, California. I was born in St. Louis. I moved when I was around 1 to 2 years old. I grew up in a very militant environment. You understand me? A Black Muslim environment. I grew up in an environment where I seen Black men with power, money, right? Entrepreneurship. Ever since I was young, I was having to train other Black men. One of my first jobs was protecting young girls from pimps in Oakland, California, right? And so I grew up a little different than the average person. So I didn't study Black history in a book. I studied it in my environment, right? I seen Black men with real power, but also seen them rise and I seen them fall. So you learn a lot of degrees of lesson. I seen a lot of people that I grew up with not stick to the same script. Matter of fact, 99% of them, they fell off. And I had to realize like what made me different. And it was just that I made a decision. You understand me? I made a decision to be a certain type of man in the world, to be what I didn't see. Right. I had multiple court cases that I caught, some with my own father, my own brother. Right. Luckily, I was able to beat those. Right. And I got a clean record to this day. But I understand what it's like to be a man in the streets. I understand what it's like to be a man in corporate. I understand what it's like to be specifically a Black man. You understand me, as a Muslim in America. And so as W.E.B. Du Bois, he coined the term double consciousness, but I feel like for me, it was a triple consciousness. You understand me? It's how I see myself, how the world sees me. You understand me? And it's also this consciousness of seeing the world like nobody else can, right? And so, I think all of that can be a burden for a lot of people. And that's why a lot of people don't want to be what they consider conscious or aware of the things going on in the world. But now we're forced to, where consciousness is the standard at this point in time, because you can't pretend to be asleep because they'll even invade your dreams at this point because the American dream is dead.
Yeah.
So everybody must be wide and awake during this time. So I grew up where we was taught about the fall of America, and I've always wanted to prepare our people for it. And so I developed as a speaker, a great communicator. I learned to become a futurist, right? So that I can see what was ahead and prepare us in the now, to study micro and macroeconomic shifts, and also be a thought leader, somebody that can help unlock our minds, but in specific fields, from technology to spirituality, right, to social media, to blockchain technology, artificial intelligence, right? I just made sure that I had a level of intellect, right, and understanding in these fields so that I can be a guide, because I just felt there was so much missing. So I wanted to try to fill as much of that as I could.
So yeah, like I said, man, I've been following you for a while. I'm from the islands. I'm from St. Lucia.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I moved to America in like 2008, right before Obama became president. I seen the shift in the black people and black culture, but just being here and then you see Trump come back into office and just kind of the dynamic of the role that they put on, the stigma that they put on black people. Being from the islands, like you said, I have a different level of consciousness, right? So it was kind of daunting to me a lot of times just seeing how black people operate with each other. So you mentioned that you there was a moment in time. What was that defining moment that woke you up from who you really are?
I don't know if there was just one moment. I think it started very early for me. I think very early, I just remember being a child and having this deep feeling in the pit of my stomach about destiny. You understand me? Like, I've always been a person gifted with dreams, in a sense to where I get messengers that come in my dreams and they give me messages, and those messages are the ones that kind of alter my path, right? That stick with me. Right. But I remember being young and thinking like, man, you're destined, hearing this voice in my head, literally, right? That you're destined to change the world. I didn't know in what capacity. And if I'm being honest, that voice disappeared after you go into the world and you talk to be more realistic and get a job, and, you know what I mean, your car getting towed away and you like, damn, man, I'm homeless. Maybe I'm not destined to change the world.
Yeah.
Maybe I should focus on at least changing my world, my situation. And so then that's when you start focusing on your own self-development, and you realize that, by changing you is how you change the world, right? And I think that a lot of us discount how powerful it is that if we change ourselves, we can affect so much more. Matter of fact, the worst of us have the greatest effect, because those are the people that we typically discard into disbelief. So if we feel like the worst of us can change, then who am I not to?
Yeah.
Right? If we take the worst of us amongst us and they change their life, they're going to affect way more people than the best of us, right? Because they have so many people that think that this is normal, and you break that pattern and that cycle for them. And so, for me, I started at an early age. I had multiple cases growing up. I also was a person that grew up, in a Black militant environment where we learned training, mental discipline. You understand me? We were taught somewhat about entrepreneurship, but not to the extent that, I didn't have to learn it on my own. You understand me? So for me, it was just about being a Black man in America and thinking about, what does that greatest version of a Black man look like?
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. When I met you at Invest Festly about 2 years, no, probably longer, probably 2022, I think, first time, 2023. And I was watching you talk, man, and I was like, man, one day I'm gonna interview this guy. I manifested it at that moment, and
Yes, sir.
to be having this moment right here, your picture and everything. But to be having this moment is kind of surreal for me. Um, what's I got another question. What's one thing if you could download in every mind of a black man in America? What's that one thing you?
I think that ultimately it comes down to the self-confidence of knowing who you are. I'm talking about believing in yourself. I'm not talking about thinking you're somebody. I'm talking about knowing yourself. And for me, that came in the form of being taught that I was a god, right? And I know for a lot of people that may be, sensitive, to their beliefs. But I don't think it really is. I think it's our lack of understanding, right? It's the reason that we can't qualify ourselves to be something greater. Because if you can call yourself a goddamn young YN or a nigga, and your religion holds space for you to be able to call yourself less than, but not be able to exalt yourself up, why is it creating a ceiling for you? And that's to keep you in control. You understand me? If you a Christian and you can call yourself a nigga, which ain't shit, nothing, doesn't mean anything positive. Cause you ain't utilizing it in term as a nigga, as a king. No, you ignorant and you selfish and you connected to the things that are of a lower frequency and a lower nature. And for me to exalt you and say that you a God, all of a sudden you believe that goes against your religion, but not being a demon.
Yeah.
No, so for me, it's about being a reflection of self. You know what I mean? The reflection of self is my father. You know what I mean? My higher self, my ability to be able to utilize my mind. Because the one thing that they want to keep us from is our power. So we can get black men to know themselves at a deep level to where you're not questioning who you are. You just wake up, right? And you focus on increasing your capacity so that you can actually utilize your capabilities, right? I think that you will be a man of immense power. But it's our righteousness that sustains us in this hour. So as teaches the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So it's not so much about how powerful you are, right? But can you guide that power with wisdom?
Yeah, I think for me, like growing up, I always kind of knew who I was and what I didn't want to do, the lines I won't cross, you know, as a young man. And now being in America, it's still the same thing. Now, did I tweak it a little bit when I came up here trying to fit in? Sure. But I always say that, you know, as of recent, the man I wanted to be is different from the man God called me to be. That's two different men, you know. So which one do I follow? Which path do I go? Do I be the man that God called me to be, or do I be the man that I want to be? And for me, it's an easy decision to be the man that God called me to be. But it's not an easy road. It's an easy decision, but it's not an easy road. And I think for a lot of people, they think that it's easier to just be, you know, caught up in what the world wants, where the world wants to take you. And for me, that's a non-negotiable, you know. So what keeps you anchored when everything around you is moving fast? I know you live a very, you know, complex lifestyle, doing everything that you do. Even this podcast tour that you're on right now, I know that's not something easy fit. When I first saw it, I was like, man, is this real? Is he gonna have the AI doing this this podcast tour? You know, but like, for real, I heard you
I
talk
had
about
to
the
literally,
cloud.
and it's like my sixth one today. So this is like a back to back to back.
Yeah, I know it could be grueling, you know. So, what keeps you anchored? What keeps you grounded when you got all these things going on?
My cognitive rituals, man. You know, I'm in the middle of building out this wellness renaissance, you know, with our company Supermind, right? And, you know, it's all about getting us to have better thinking. You know, I know I'm capable of it. You know, you're capable of something, but sometimes you don't feel like you have the capacity for it, right? And so I was thinking about that as you were speaking. I'm like, man, I know I'm capable of doing 24-hour cycle of marathon, but what would allow me to have the capacity to do it? That's going to go into my rituals, the way that I eat, the people that I'm around, the way that I think, right? Being able to decrease those stress levels, right? Increase that cognitive function. So if I was drinking last night and I woke up and I got a hangover, that decreases my capacity. Even though everybody knows I'm capable of doing it, but now I can't even go have these 6 in a row podcasts back to back because my mental functions are not at a higher level. I can't make decisions. I can't recall information. You understand me? And so I don't have the clarity, and the clarity is what you're focused on.
Yeah.
So for me, I started getting into adaptogens and nootropics almost like 10 years ago because I used to have brain fog, right? And I wanted to think about like, damn, I know I'm capable, but why don't I feel like I have the capacity, right? And so similar to a phone, when you free up space on your phone, you can download more things, right? You can use more functions within that phone. It's the same thing with the human brain, right? And so I think that a lot of people are getting drained, right, by the middle of the day, or they start their day off getting drained. You pick up the phone and all of a sudden you in it and you scrolling. Now it's giving you a dopamine boost, right? Now you're getting cortisol spikes, right? So now you have this anxiety and you don't feel like you have the capability of dealing with things when it's really just your capacity, because you should have started off with a meditation, with some light reading, brushing your teeth with the opposite hand, maybe doing a cold shower, getting you a cup of Supermind, give you a boost of cognition, then start making decisions from this place at 100% battery. You understand me? So it's like I'm a cognitive athlete. Where some people, they get prepared for football, physical, track, boxing. You know what I'm saying? What about that cognitive athlete? What are the things you would do if you were preparing your brain to become better? right? And so that's what allows me to be able to do a tour like this, is that I focus on cognition. One sec, can you hear that?
One more song.
Yeah, thank you, brother. That was decreasing my capacity to focus.
Before I get into the lightning round, I probably got one more question. How do you know when your soul is out of alignment?
When you don't feel energized to do the things that you're doing, alignment gives you perfect energy. When your heart, your soul, your mind is in something, it's a battery charge that happens, right? There's a level of alignment that you have. There's a level of love for what you do. That even if you don't feel like doing something, you still get it done, right? When you align with something, and this is what most people don't think about, you're willing to die, kill, and live for it. When you wake up and you don't have no passion in your life, it's because you don't have no alignment, right? And typically, a lot of times we get out of alignment because we stop living in harmony. We stop living in harmony with our values, our goals. We stop living in harmony with the universe, right? And so for me, alignment is making sure that things are in harmony with each other so that what I believe, right, is in alignment with what I'm doing. So there's no disconnect to where you can be making money, but you don't like the way you're making money. You can be working a job, getting paid more than everything, but you don't like what you're sacrificing at this job. You're sacrificing your integrity. You letting people talk to you all kind of way. You understand me? And in your mind, there's an unalignment. You start becoming sick because you're not saying the things you want to say. So now you're going to have problems in the throat, right? You're not doing the things you want to do. You got problems in the heart.
Yeah.
You understand me? And so it starts to make you feel drained because you spending most of your energy holding yourself back instead of being a real version of yourself. So for me, the moment you start getting those questions in your mind and you stop feeling energized by what you do, you're out of alignment. Anything that goes against your values that you do anyway, is out of alignment.
Yeah, so for me, I own a painting business, right? And I also, it's funny you talk about a job. I got a job last December, because I just had my first daughter, and
Congratulations.
and I just had another one in May. So I got a job just to kind of keep things stable. And I was on paternity leave since May, and work has been picking up for my painting business. Man, I extended my paternity leave for extra month. And they kept calling me. The job kept calling me. It's like, hey, when you coming back? Yada yada. I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it back there. I had to be honest with them. So it's funny that you said that because I just literally sent in my resignation message today to my supervisor, telling him, I can't make it up there. It's too far. It's an hour away. It takes so much out of me. And like you said, I don't have the capacity to do that no more. You know what I mean? Does it provide a stable income? Yeah, but it's not worth it at the end of the day.
Does it provide a stable spirit, stable mind?
Exactly.
Like we make so many decisions based on money. We forget our souls, right? And the world keeps telling us to justify doing things. Well, how much you getting paid? Or I would have stayed. Yeah, but you never asked how I felt. You never asked if I was in alignment because the world don't care. You understand me? We stop being human beings to each other, right? A word of harmony, that's a human word, right? Balance is a machine word. Machines look for balance. Nature don't look for balance. You understand me? So they're just telling you to balance it out. As long as the money good, just try to figure out a way to just live with balance. I don't want to try to figure out anything. I want to be in flow. When you're doing things you love, you in flow. I'm painting. I feel good. It brings me mental peace, right? Somebody buys something that I created from my own art, mind, hands. I love that. It makes me feel good about myself.
Yeah.
Right? So everybody wants to be able to take care of themselves from their own self-manifestations. I was listening to Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about art. He said, as a scientist, you discover, right, what's already in existence, right? And I'm paraphrasing, but as an artist, you produce something that only you could have brought into existence. It's a completely different reality that one gets to live. Because if you didn't do it, there's no discovery. There's no matter how smart somebody is, they don't get to see your art, experience your art. So art is this personal contribution to the universe, right? And so, this is why on a spiritual level, we always appreciate, and therefore we also know who we are, because sometimes you don't know, as my brother Keenan say, if you good or the machine you're a part of is good. So if you work in a company, you like, well, if I disappear and the machine keeps running efficiently, then I'm not really that valuable to the machine. You understand me? But I know if I don't do my art, it don't get produced in the world, right? Those things that are personal to you, your personal missions that you have to go on, those God-given missions that allow you to use your gifts, those are the ones worth doing. Those are the ones that give you a reason to live and wake up in the morning. Those are the ones that energize your soul. You understand me? Even if it don't fulfill your pockets.
Yeah, that's deep, man. That's deep. That's deep, bro. That encourages me. You know, I know you're on Words of Encouragement probably. That encourages me because sometimes you feel like you're making the wrong decision by the choices that you make, even though it's in alignment with what you envision in your life. Um, you know, like I said, I envision this moment right here, and for it to come to fruition is like, okay, I'm on the right track. You know, if I didn't start this, man, I started this when my wife was pregnant. Just being on cameras, like I got to do something. I think it was between you and Jeremy Anderson speaking on stage at InvestFest. I was like, man, I want to do that. You know, I want to change the world with my voice. And coming from totally different background to what I do, it's like, how do I find the steps? And that night I got home, started making videos. You know, and it snowballed into this moment right here. So I just want to encourage anybody watching this to start. Just start, man. You'll figure it out. My first set of videos looked crazy. You know, I was still getting high in them. I was still doing what I was doing, but then it sent me on a spiritual path where that led me to change my life in a tremendous different way. You know, I got baptized, and I know you're a Muslim. I'm a Christian. It's not even about that. It's not about the religion. It's about just getting to that higher consciousness and higher and that getting to understand who God is, what God is doing in your life, and the direction He's trying to take you, and just being on that path, not the path the world wants you to take, but the path that God wants you to take to be yourself. You know,
I'm able to recognize my brother in a Muslim or Christian
same.
because although we utilize religion so that we may live in proper context in which God prescribes, we get caught up in the details. But a good man, right? You don't ever have to utter the words a lie for me to know you're a good man.
Yeah.
I don't need you to say you're a Muslim for me to recognize what I recognize in my Muslim brothers and another good man, right? Because I've seen brothers that have called themselves Muslims done terrible things. Some of them are killed, they robbed, they steal. Couldn't trust them for nothing, right? Same thing, Christian brothers, right? Grew up in a church, but murdered somebody's black son. Did it matter that they were Christian? Or would you have rathered as a Christian that man been a Muslim and he didn't do it because he felt like he was more compelled as a Muslim not to take life? See, we get caught up in the religion and we become selfish because we want people to be on our team, whether they're good for humanity or not, right? And I want men to find, right, what works for their soul and the alignment in their soul that will allow them to live the best, right, and contribute the most to our culture in a positive manner. So if that means that you being a Christian and you being baptized and you believing in the word of God makes you a better man, a better father, a better brother, a more productive part, right, of society, then I'm for that. But if that means that you being a Muslim, right, having that divine reminder 5 times a day to pray, practicing Ramadan, going to the masjid or going to Juma or the mosque, right? And being one of the brothers or part of a brotherhood, that makes you a better Muslim, a person that redeems you and reforms you from where the world had you and make you treat other black people and treat yourself and treat your family and be responsible. If that makes you a better person, then I want you to be a Muslim. You understand me? So it is that ability to recognize that spirit in both of those men that cleaned them up. That's the perfect religion.
Amen. Amen. I agree with that 100%. We're gonna get into the lightning round. I'm gonna just shoot out some quick questions. You could just give your first thought that comes to mind. A book that changed your life.
You know what, a book that I constantly go back to? And it's funny because I felt like knew the lessons from this book because people would always suggest it to me because they'd be like, you sound like you pulling from this book. And I guess I was speaking in alignment with the knowledge that existed in that book for years, right? But it was the way of the superior man. And there's another one I can't think of the name. But the way of the superior man is something that I think is a book that's highly necessary in today's time. I grew up, of course, off the Honorable Elijah Muhammad books, which I think that every black man should start with Message to the Black Man.
Yeah.
And I might be taking it for granted because I grew up with it, that it's so deeply ingrained in me that I didn't get it as an adult. I had it, you know what I'm saying, me as a child.
Yeah.
So it's different finding a book later on that confirms things. But I know, as far as a book that I would say raised me, was The Message to the Black Man. And I know a book that helped black men, whether they Muslim, Christian, Hebrew, whatever. Message to the Black Man. It helps you understand yourself and this world a lot better. So I would start with Message to the Black Man. You understand me? And I also suggest that all men read Way of the Superior Man.
I haven't been a big reader, but I started this year, man. I'm in different Bible studies when we study different books, not just the Bible. So I've definitely started reading a lot more, you know, coming from a background where I didn't read at all.
Yes, sir.
That's something that I started on that journey. So,
Now I gotta read, man.
yeah, for sure.
Reading is like water. I don't want to be dehydrated.
Oh yeah, I got you. Daily non-negotiable.
Daily non-negotiable. Water. Gotta drink me some water every day. And I'll say that because it's a small ritual of wellness and gratitude. You understand me? Also now is prayer. You know what I mean? Like it's funny, I got this app on my phone. It's this Muslim app where it reminds me 5 times a day when to pray. It just sends me a signal. You understand me? The Muslims pray in conjunction with sun salutations. So as the sun moves throughout, right, we get a prayer in and it wakes us up. And it's this cosmic alignment, if you will. And so you might be doing anything in the world, and this is something that I didn't always was a avid prayer like that. But I would see some of my Muslim brothers I'd be around, we'd be in the middle of a meeting, and they'd be like, "Oh, I gotta go pray," and then leave out the room, pull out their rug and pray. Or I see in the airport, no matter what you're doing, you will hop out of line and go grab your prayer rug and pray. And I just thought, I think from the outside looking in, it feels like they're doing it as an obligation, right? And that's not it at all. It's not that, yes, you are obligated, but that's not what it feels like when you're doing it. You understand me? It's reconnection. It's a recharge.
Yeah.
You feel me? It's like, it's a reminder. Like, man, and it feels so good because it starts to anchor you and it starts to center you in a way to where it's like, man, I've been in the world. And then all of a sudden here comes this reminder to tap in with God, right? Tap in with myself and recenter myself. And if you do that throughout the day, it's like taking 5 times to go meditate. You know what I'm saying? It feels really, really good to recenter yourself and refocus, then get back to what you're doing. And so I think that in the world that we living in, man, we might need to be praying 10 times a day because there's a lot going on.
Right. You're right. You know, I had a dream about God wanted me to pray for people, man. It's like, man, like you said, you get these visions and dreams sometimes, and you're like, I don't know if I could do that. I don't think I'm prepared to do that just yet, but it's giving me a way to figure it out. That's
Yeah,
the journey I'm on.
I think it's more important to understand the why.
Yeah.
Because what does it mean to be the person that is prepared to do it, right? Because it's not that you, again, go back to the capability and capacity. It's not that you're not capable. You're capable of doing it. But the question is, why don't I have the capacity? And then that forces us to look inside ourselves to be like, why can't I do it? What is the block? What would stop me? Is it ego? You know what I mean? Like, what is that function there? And then that puts you on a deeper journey of, if God puts something on your consciousness, now you must take a look in the mirror to see if you're the type of person that can complete his mission. A Muslim is one who submits his or her will to do the will of God. So there's things that God wants me to do that I don't be feeling like doing. But when you submit your will, you're going to do it anyway. It's just obeying.
I got one more quick question, and then we're going to get to final thoughts. Something you're still healing from.
I'm still healing from a lot of loss. A lot of loss in my family. A lot of loss of friends that I don't know if I ever truly grieved anyone. Loss of relationships, you know. And I think I got an interesting relationship with the idea of grief. And I'm not sure I give myself the proper time to process. And I know I'm not properly healed because when I think about them to this day, you understand me, my eyes start to water up. And if I had processed that, then the same emotion wouldn't reoccur consistently. Anytime I think about friends and family that I lost, I realize that, I haven't given myself the proper time to grieve those relationships lost.
I don't think a lot of black men give themselves the time. I lost my grandma last year, and I had to sit with that several times to kind of process it. Mothers, they can roll around. I'm like, man, and hearing my mom speak about her, it's a different nerve. And just certain moments will remind me, certain things I hear, certain songs that may come on, it just like puts you right back into that place. But yeah, that's deep, bro. This segment is called Message to the Struggling Man. Speak directly to the man who's silently battling depression, doubt, or addiction. Just give him some words of encouragement.
I think the most important thing for somebody that's dealing with depression, anxiety, shame, any of those things, I would invite you to remember who you are. Sometimes we take on the identity of what we're doing, but we wouldn't feel this struggle, right? Feeling shameful for what we do if we know that it wasn't us. When you do those things, you feel shame because you know this not me. Why am I doing this? Right? And it's this disconnect and unalignment, and you have to always remember who you are. Because the more you stuck in this feeling, a feeling of shame, it makes you sick. And then it creates this cycle of being stuck in the thing that caused it, because at least it's the one thing that gives you comfort. So reminding yourself who you are, not just your name, your essence. When you were a child, depending on what type of childhood you had, there was a moment in time where you looked towards things in a very bright manner, or there was a time in life where you consider yourself to be an upstanding, strong, confident human being, right? Knowing that you're worthy of God's attention, if you will. Because when we stop believing that we're worthy, we start doing unworthy things. We stop believing, we start doing unworthy things, and we forget who we are, and I need us to remind ourselves consistently, remember who you are. If you can imagine yourself as a greater, higher version of yourself, then it exists. I don't need you to go into your past just to remember it. That's good when you have good memories to reflect upon. But if you don't, go into your visions. I want you to create a whole new version of yourself. And I want you to act as if you're that person already. Because you're already acting other than yourself anyway. You might as well assume a new role. Sometimes it's not that you're depressed. You're just not doing things that are aligned with you. Try something else. Try new people. Try new foods. Try new environments. The one thing that helps refreshes the brain is learning. When you're learning, you start living, right? Whether you are addicted to something, learn what addiction is, right? Then go learn about a new life that you could live. Pick up a new skill. You understand me? Go find new friends that are of a completely different frequency than your old one, representing your new life. You understand me? Place yourself in environments based on who you want to become. But gratefulness to me is it's the key to life. It allows you to win the wars that secretly you battle within, reminding yourself that things could be worse and things will be better.
Favorite lines, man. I heard you say this several times. What you do frequently becomes your frequency. So if you sit in the depression frequently, that's going to become your frequency. And I just want to remind people that you don't have to sit in the depression. You don't have to just sit there and just take it. You could make changes. Go outside, just do something different. Just go outside barefoot, put your feet in the grass, just breathe, man. Just be grateful for the life that you have. Don't sit in the dark room and feel sorry for yourself. That's not going to help anything. But yeah, man, this all my questions, bro.
Bro, I appreciate you. I had a good time, man.
Yes, sir, man. Any final words you want to say before you get off?
Man, take care of your mind right now because it is necessary. Right? We're living in a time where you want to figure out how to protect your mind every single day. Right? I started this company Supermind on purpose because I know it's the technology that we need right now. Right? We have all the AI in the world, but what about you, the HI, the human intelligence? How are you optimizing yourself? Are you living at 100%? Right? We working on a program now, our Banter Black program, where we're able to bring people along with us sometime. partner with people. You understand me? To where if you have a business, you have a podcast, you understand me? Whatever it may be, I have resources that I can share with certain individuals once we inside the same circle. You feel me? And I believe that it's time for you to find your tribe right now, right? We have about 1 to 2 years as a people before we're going to hit a crisis level event. And that crisis level event is really thinking about how we're most likely going to have to go through a very dark, lonely road of not having no power for a very long time and waiting for another opportunity to open up like the one that is open right now. This artificial intelligence, the cognitive warfare that's being played out. You have new robotics that's happening. You can go study what's going on with Palantir. You can go study the dark enlightenment philosophy from Curtis Yarvin. You understand me? Go study what's going on, what these devils have planned for you and your mind and your family. They want to keep you either in a digital slavery or in a physical one. You choose. But there's an opportunity right now that exists for all men and women who pay attention, who care about themselves. I've been teaching about digital currencies for the last almost 10 years now. You know what I mean? We created a bundle pack that people can get access to, right? From all the lessons I've been teaching over the years. I can't force people to take the keys to their own salvation. That's up to you. If you don't care about your family's future, then nobody else should, right? But we have to stop acting like we victims of circumstances when we really have the greatest opportunity to be rulers right now. But if you can't focus, then nothing matters. That's why you need to focus on your capacity and gain clarity right now. You understand me? Change your habits, change your rituals, because this time it requires a supermind. Peace to the gods.
Peace, man. Peace. I appreciate it, man. 19 Keys. Another marvelous episode, man. Brother, you have a good one. I'll see you soon. Eat Invest Fest.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to it.
Yes, sir, man. I appreciate you, man.
Peace.
Peace. This was another marvelous episode of Words of Encouragement. Stay tuned, man. Stay tapped in. We doing big things, bro. We doing big things, man. I appreciate 19 Keys for coming on, tapping in with me. But yeah, we doing big things. Salute.